unborn. Hari Om, I am chanting the few previous shlokas. Whoever knows him to be indestructible, eternal, unborn, and inexhaustible, how can that man slay, O Partha, or cause others to be slain? वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Just as a man casts off his worn out clothes and puts on new ones, so also the embodied self casts off its worn out bodies and enters new ones. नैनं छिन्दन्ति शास्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः. Weapons cleave it not, fire burns it not, water moistens it not, wind dries it not. अच्छेद्योऽयं मदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः. This self cannot be cut, nor burnt, nor moistened, nor dried up. It is eternal, all-pervading, stable, immovable, and ancient. अव्यक्तोऽयम् अचिन्त्योऽयम् अविकार्योऽयम् उच्यते तस्मादेव विधि त्वैनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि. This self is said to be unmanifest, unthinkable, and unchangeable. Therefore, knowing this to be such, you should not grieve. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यवा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि. But even if you think of him as being constantly born and constantly dying, even then, O mighty armed, you should not grieve. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. Indeed, certain is death for the born, and certain is birth for the dead. Therefore, over the inevitable, you should not grieve. अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना. Beings were unmanifest in the beginning and unmanifest again in their end, seem to be manifest in the middle, O Bharata. What then is there to grieve about? आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. One sees this as a wonder, another speaks of this as a wonder, another hears of this as a wonder, yet having heard, none understands this at all. देहि नित्यमवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. This, the indweller in the body of everyone, is ever indestructible, O Bharata, and therefore you should not grieve for any departures, any creature. स्वधर्मम स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि. स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्धियुद्धाच्छेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. Further, looking at thy own duty, thou ought not to waver, for there is nothing higher for a Kshatriya than a righteous war. यदृच्छया चोपपन्नं स्वर्गद्वारमपावृतं सुखिन क्षत्रिया पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम्. Happy indeed are the Kshatriyas, O Partha, who are called to fight in such a battle that comes of itself as an open door to heaven. अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि. But if you will not fight this righteous war, then having abandoned your own duty and fame, you shall incur sin. अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः अमरणादति Richete. People too will recount your everlasting dishonor, and to one who has been honored, dishonor is more than death. भयाद्रणादुपत परतं मंस्यते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्. The great battalion commanders will think that you have withdrawn from the battle through fear, and you will be looked down upon by those who had thought much of you and your heroism in the past. अवाच्य वादांश बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. And many unspeakable words will your enemies speak, cavilling about your powers. What can be more painful than this? हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः. Slain, you will obtain heaven. Victorious, you will enjoy the earth. Therefore, stand up, O son of Kunti, resolved to fight. Sukha dukhe same krutva labhalabhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papamam mavapsyasi. Having made pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat the same, engage in battle for the sake of battle. Thus you shall not incur sin. एषा ते विहिता साङ्ख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि. This which has been taught to thee is wisdom concerning Sankhya. Now listen to the wisdom concerning yoga, having known which, O Partha, you shall cast off the bonds of action. नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. In this, there is no loss of effort, nor is there any harm, production of contrary results. Even a little of this knowledge, even a little practice of this yoga protects one from the great fear. व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखायनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्. Here, O joy of the Kurus, Kurunandana, there is but a single pointed determination. Many branched and endless are the thoughts of the irresolute. यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्यविपश्चितः वेदवादरता पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः. Flowery speech is uttered by the unwise, taking pleasure in the eulogizing words of Vedas, O Partha, saying there is nothing else. कामात्मानः स्वर्गपरा जन्मकर्मफलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति. Full of desires, having heaven as their goal, They utter flowery words which promise new birth as the reward of their actions and prescribe various specific actions for the attainment of pleasure and lordship. भोगैश्चर्यप्रसक्तानां तयापहृतचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते. For those who cling on to joy, to lordship, whose minds are drawn away by such teaching, are neither determinate and resolute, nor are they fit for steady meditation and samadhi. त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्. The Vedas deal with the three attributes. Be you above these three attributes, gunas. O Arjuna, free yourself from the pairs of opposites and ever remain in the sattva, goodness, freed from all thoughts of acquisition and preservation, and be established in the self. यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः. To the Brahmana who has known the self of all the Vedas are of as such as much use as is a reservoir of water in a place where there is flood everywhere. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर्मा भुः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर्मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि. Thy right is to work only, but never to its fruits. Let not the fruit of action be thy motive, nor let thy attachment be to inaction. योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते. Perform action, O Dhananjaya, abandoning attachment, being steadfast in yoga, and balanced in success and failure. Evenness of mind is called yoga. दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाफलहेतवः. Far lower than the yoga of wisdom is action. O Dhananjaya, seek thou refuge in wisdom. Wretched are thy whose motive is the fruit. बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद्योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्मसु कौशलम्. Endowed with the wisdom of evenness of mind, one casts off in this life both good deeds and evil deeds. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Skill in action is yoga. कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ता पदं गच्छन्त्यनाममयम्. Padam gacchantyanamaya. The wise, possessed of knowledge, having abandoned the fruits of their actions and freed from the fetters of birth, go to the state which is beyond all evil. यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तांसि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च. When your intellect crosses the mire of delusion, you shall attain to indifference as to what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. श्रुति विप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि. When your intellect though perplexed by what you have heard, shall stand immovable and steady in the self, then you shall attain self realization. अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्. Arjuna said, what, O Keshava, is the description of him who has steady wisdom and who is merged in the superconscious state? How does one of steady wisdom speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते. The blessed Lord said, when a man completely casts off, O Partha, all the desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self by the self, then is he said to be one of steady wisdom. दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमना सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधस्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते. He whose mind is not shaken up by adversity and who in prosperity does not hanker after pleasures, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage of steady wisdom. Yes, सर्वत्र न यसर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तप्राप्य शुभाशुभं नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. He who is everywhere without attachment on meeting with anything good or bad, who neither rejoices nor hates, his wisdom is fixed. यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. When like the tortoise, which withdraws its limbs from all sides, he withdraws his senses from the sense objects, then his wisdom becomes steady. विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. The objects of the senses turn away from the abstinent man, leaving the longing behind. But his longing also leaves him upon seeing the Supreme. यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः. The turbulent senses, O son of Kunti, do violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he may be striving to control them. तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Having restrained them all, he should sit steadfast, intent on me. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते. When a man thinks of objects, attachment for them arises. From attachment, desire is born. From desire arises anger. क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. From anger comes delusion, from delusion loss of memory, from loss of memory the destruction of discrimination, from destruction of discrimination he perishes. So we had seen how the desire and then longing, then craving, it turns into anger, and then the delusion, and then there is a loss of viveka. Due to Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha. I will just read the last paragraph. Dwelling upon the object is what is meant by meditation here. Meditation meaning constantly thinking about something. It may be something about a person that you keep dwelling upon. The person's dress, jewelry, voice, speech, mannerisms, decorum, thinking, hair, nose, eyes, or height, all of which represent the countless varieties of objects upon which you can meditate. Meditation is the flow of thoughts about an object and anything connected to it. Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha. The meditation of attachment. Krishna was not talking about the person who meditates on the Sat Chit Ananda Atma, even though the person he was discussing may be smiling while meditating. The smile is only because of the memory of some compliment or other. It is a smile of elation, and this elation is what is meant by attachment sangha. There is a certain love, a certain affection that has developed for another person or an object, a sense of being pleased with the object. Otherwise, there would be no attachment. Once a smile comes at the thought of the object, it means that attachment has already been established. You cannot discover affection for anything without first dwelling upon it. A person may develop affection for a cat merely by continuing to think about it and caring for it. An attachment can also develop so that without the cat, the person finds that life is empty. If life is full only when it is full of cats and dogs, definitely we will find life full of cats and dogs. This kind of attachment can occur towards any object, a carpet, furniture, anything. Is it any wonder then that there is affection and then attachment towards a person who talks back nicely in a sweet voice that utters pleasing words? If affection for or if affection for an attachment to a mewing cat can be developed, of course, a talking, smiling, thinking person is capable of evoking an even better response. Affection itself is no problem. The problem is this: whatever you like, you almost always want to possess. This is why Krishna said that desire is born from attachment. That attachment is the cause of desire. And because there are different types of objects, there are different types of desires: the desire to possess, the desire to own, and the desire to experience. To create a desire, all that is required is a causal glance at a Caribbean cruise brochure that came in the mail. In fact, the whole idea of direct mail is to create a desire in you. You may call it junk mail, but for those who send it, it is not junk. They know that someone will be attracted to the idea conveyed by the brochure. And to ensure that you do not forget, they also send you follow up literature. When the second brochure arrives, the pleasant memory that had been stored based on the first brochure comes to mind, and affection for the subject matter develops. From this affection alone comes the desire to go on a Caribbean cruise. In this way, the desire to experience, to own, to possess is created. So, how the small desire turns into the desire to experience, to own, to possess. So beautifully. He's a really a counselor, Swamiji. The way he's taking the not every desire can be fulfilled. Varieties of desires are born depending on the objects for which you have affection and attachment. Desire also is not a problem, but once a well shaped desire has been formed, once it is no longer in the fancy state, you have to deal with it. You have to fulfill it, and this causes you to take action. If you can fulfill the desire, there is no problem. More often than not, however, the desire is not fulfilled. This then is where the problem arises. Not every desire can be fulfilled. It is not that easy. There are many obstacles that prevent the fulfillment of some desires. The problem comes then when the desires are not fulfilled and you become angry. The desire itself turns into anger, krodha. Thus, desire is the cause for anger, or in the words of Krishna, anger is born of desire. If there is no expectation with reference to a desire, there will be no anger if the desire is not fulfilled. Suppose you want someone to do something for you and the person does not do it. If you knew that he or she might not do it, then there is no anger. But if you expected the person to do it, you will definitely be angry when it is not done. Even if the anger is not expressed, anger born is born. The intensity with which you desire something is what determines the magnitude of your anger and not the object itself. If your desire is such that it does not matter to you whether or not it is fulfilled, then anger will not be there. Even if it is, it will amount to very little. Whereas, if the intensity of the desire is great, the anger that comes from the desire not being fulfilled is not going to be easily managed either by you or by the person who happens to be between you and what you want. If the other person is an obstruction to what you want, then your desire will turn into anger towards that person. If you expect the person to behave in a certain way and I'm sorry, if you expect the per, if you want me to repeat, just let me know. Am I going too fast? Just let me know if you want me to repeat anything, please. I just repeat this last paragraph. The intensity with which you desire something is what determines the magnitude of your anger and not the object itself. If your desire is such that it does not matter to you whether or not it is fulfilled, then anger will not be there. Even if it is, it will amount to very little. Whereas, if the intensity of the desire is great, the anger that comes from the desire not being fulfilled is not going to be easily managed either by you or by the person who happens to be between you and what you want. If the other person is an obstruction to what you want, then your desire will turn into anger towards that person. If you expect the person to behave in a certain way and he or she does not behave in that manner, then the person will definitely be the target of your anger. And if that person's behavior is not according to your expectations because of another person, then your anger gets directed towards the other person. And sometimes your anger against the second may be more than towards the first. So beautiful chain of actions. When the desire that you have, when they don't get fulfilled, and you blame that somebody, because of somebody it is not fulfilled, and how it turns into anger. Furthermore, the nature of anger. Anger is always towards the obstruction to the fulfillment of your desire. If between you and the object that you desire there is an obstruction, that obstruction is the target of your anger. The desire itself is deflected against this obstruction, and this deflected ray of desire is what is called anger. In this way, this anger is like the vinegar that may result when you try to make wine. Both the wine and the vinegar have as their essence the grapes alone. But the wine turns into vinegar. How? It too has its own story. The point here is not to avoid anger by avoiding desire. Rather, you have to remove the sting from your desires, for which a proper attitude is very important. That everything should happen as I want it to is not a realistic expectation. And such an expectation is due to raga dveshas alone. The raga dveshas, your likes and dislikes, have to be neutralized if you would like to be free of anger. Nor is it a matter of controlling anger. What does controlling anger really mean? The anger is inside and you are simmering, simmering, simmering until suddenly one day it erupts like a volcano. Once anger is there, what happens is only too well known. Aviveka, lack of discrimination, will definitely be there. In anger, you are not going to take the time to consider whether a certain action is proper or improper. You are not going to spend time considering should I kick him or should I punch him. Whatever comes first is what happens. Once anger is there, things just take place. What you do or say takes place of its own accord and depends entirely upon the past, your upbringing, and so on. There is no question of control here. The very meaning of anger is that viveka, with reference to what should and should not to be done, is lacking. And from this anger comes delusion, sammoha. What is being pointed out in these two verses is the process that takes place when one dwells on an object. There is no time involved here. Dwelling on an object implies affection, desire, anger, delusion, and more. Because of the delusion born of anger, loss of memory, smriti vibhrama takes place. The word smriti, memory, refers here to whatever you may have learned by studying the Shastra, whatever you have assimilated about right and wrong, whatever you learned from your teachers, elders, and life's experiences, what made you angry in the past, what happened, and so on. None of these you remember because delusion has come, and along with it, a viveka. Thus, there is a loss of memory with reference to all the wisdom you had gathered from your past education and experiences. Once the wisdom of your past experiences, smriti, is not available, The mind is incapacitated. There is buddhi nasha. Your buddhi now is incapable of analyzing whether something is to be done or not to be done, because whatever wisdom you had gathered is not available to you. Delusion is like an inner torpor, a blackout that makes you forget the wisdom you had. Therefore, your buddhi, your intellect, is unable to do what it is supposed to do. It is incapable of giving orders to go ahead or to stop in accordance with what is right and wrong. This is what the buddhi is supposed to do, but it is not available to do it. So, how? Krodhat bhavati sammohah, sammohat smriti vibramah, smriti bhramshad buddhinasha. So, how step by step it takes over, and how the buddhi is encouraging the aviveka due to delusion. Anyone would like to share? In the absence of
Rati,
wisdom,
I joined
yeah,
later. So the delusion comes from the ajnana, right? So uh, because we are going outward for the objects,
yeah,
that
the
is that
desire,
the man.
the attachment, and then you think about the possession. And when that
Right.
possession is beyond your reach, then if there is an obstacle, then you feel angry.
Mm, right. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Want that possession because of the smriti only, na?
Uh, because of, I think that attachment, when you
Asa. Hmm.
have that raga for that.
Hmm.
You know, recently I just heard a very renowned Swamiji from Chinmaya Mission. He said he many years back he had come to Gulf, and he had that desire that in Gulf people do more charity. So he came with that desire and it did not get fulfilled, and he did not have good time. But then he said that I realized that yes, I had that desire that I will get something. But when I came again after few years without any desire, then it automatically got fulfilled. You know, that desire that I maybe that I will get something, or I will uh, it is an attachment, no, whether it is sattvic or tamasic or
Yeah, that binding desires, right? So
That
yeah,
thought
they
or
will.
desire
without it,
comes
we
on
can't
its
live.
own and goes also on its own. In the
Mm,
Yeah,
starting,
for
it
a
comes
sthita
and go, and
prajna,
then
it comes. You don't get entangled. Even if you get it, okay. Even if you don't get it, it is okay. It passes like a cloud, as Gurudev says, no?
but because of the rasa in that thing, we want to possess it. The rasa
Correct.
is not gone.
Mm,
And that's how the things that all one by one comes.
correct.
Because and because only the smriti is there of that things,
Mm,
you want to possess, and then you, if you not get, then anger, then next level, like that.
Then there will be delusion, and that delusion will black out your buddhi, intellect.
And buddhi nashat vinashat.
Mhm. It happens not only for
Means no
the
viveka.
relations, for every
Hmm.
possession, material possession, also the
Everything.
same thing. Yeah.
Yesterday, Brahmaraji said no that very nice sunset was there, but we don't want to possess it. So there is no
Mhm.
means in the nature we will feel so good. Otherwise,
Yeah.
um, in objects we get फंस जाते हैं objects or anything
Mhm.
because it is not in your control that sunset or sunrise or any natural things. So you don't
Mhm.
get it and you know it because the
It's beyond your
because
reach.
uh,
Okay. In the absence of wisdom, impulse takes over. The buddhi is only available when wisdom is available. And in the absence of wisdom, it behaves as though it is not programmed at all. Impulse takes over. In other words, the buddhi is destroyed. Pranashyati. The person is no more a human being and can be likened to an animal because he or she gives himself or herself over to impulses. The impulses take over and determine exactly what the person is going to do. It may be biting, kicking, screaming, hitting someone, or even committing suicide. When a person is controlled by impulse, anything can happen, and whatever happens just happens. Until anger comes, the person can be careful. But once anger is there, all caution is gone. The verbs used in these two verses are very revealing in this regard. From attachment, desire is born, and from desire, anger is born. At this point, however, the verb changes from is born to takes place. From anger, delusion takes place. And from delusion, the incapacity of the mind takes place. This shows how the person has no more any control over the situation. Once anger is born, delusion, loss of wisdom, and the destruction of the person just take place. Control is possible only before anger. Afterwards, what happens is history. Given that meditating on desirable objects creates problems for you, the message of the Gita is clear. Instead of meditating upon objects, meditate upon the self. Instead of meditating upon your own problems and inhibitions, meditate upon the Pratyagatma, the inner self. Because if you do not, you will naturally meditate upon the objects, which is the cause of all your problems. I repeat the last beautiful paragraph. It is the essence of the whole. Given that meditating on desirable objects creates problems for you, the message of the Gita is clear. Instead of meditating upon objects, meditate upon the self. Instead of meditating upon your own problems and inhibitions, meditate upon the Pratyagatma, the inner self. Because if you do not, you will naturally meditate upon the objects, which is the cause of all your problems. So, Gurudev's that patterned sentence we should Go from mana to nama, from the external world to internal. Antarmukhi sada sukhi. Very beautiful words. Anyone wants to chant those 62 and 63 once? Anyone? Very beautiful verses. We should by heart. Anyone wishes to chant?
Yeah,
Dhyayato Vishaya. Anyone wish?
yeah, I can do that. Let me see.
Yeah, please.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्कत्तेषु उपजायते सङ्कत्तेषु okay. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्क सङ्कत्तेषु उपजायते
Sangasteshupajayate.
सङ्कत्तेषु
Sangasteshupajayate.
उपजायते सङ्कत्ते सङ्कत्
Sangat
सङ्कात्
Sanjayate.
ओके सङ्कात् सञ्जायते कामः कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोदः सम्मोदात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिविभ्रमात् भ्रंशात् स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
You want to read the essence of the shloka?
Sure. In the person who dwells upon objects, okay. In the person who dwells upon objects, an attachment is born with reference to them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire, anger is born. From anger comes delusion, and from delusion comes the loss of memory. Delusion comes the loss of memory. Because of the loss of memory, the mind becomes incapacitated, and when the mind is incapacitated, the person is destroyed. This is like downward flow, right? So, so it dwells upon the object. So, starting from the sense object, an attachment is born with the uh, delusion. The delusion comes, uh, the anger comes. The anger destroys the anger, what happened? The buddhi is not
Hmm.
working properly, right? Buddhi nasha.
Correct.
Because when people are angry, the mind is not clear, so they cannot think properly. So when they are not
Hmm.
able to think properly, obviously they don't make right decisions. So that leads to buddhi nashat. What happens after that? The
Buddhinasha.
memory. Yeah, when you're not having the mind,
Hmm.
the mind is not mind is incapacitated, and so leads to the destruction.
Hmm.
Right.
In today's youth, we find this so often, no? When they don't get what they want.
Hmm. True. I mean, we ourselves catch up with like that many times,
Hmm.
right? I mean, we
Correct.
have the knowledge, but then still lose control. But one good thing about it is that because we are aware of this knowledge, okay, this is not right thing to do. That part is helping because even momentarily that happens, and then okay, we have to not, this is not, we, that's not I, right? So
That
we kind of
Viveka
come back.
stops you. Hmm.
Yeah, we talk back to ourselves and, okay, calm down or do things, this is not me, this is, then the anger will take over you, like that.
Hmm.
So that part, is happening. That's really nice that the more we are reading this information, like the knowledge, that really helps us to how we should behave.
Yeah, very nice. So instead of meditating on objects,
Yeah,
people,
instead
we
of
have to
meditating on
meditate upon
object,
the
yeah,
Pratyagatma.
yeah. So on the self. So the more you, that will be so. When I think, uh, when you're not having that desire, right? That desire meaning that binding desire. When you don't have that binding desire, your mind also, when you meditate like that on the Atma or self, your mind gets clearer and clearer and calm, so you can think better. Hmm.
Yeah, requesting everyone to share
Yeah,
one takeaway,
these
very
two
beautiful
slokas
verses.
are very important. I mean,
Yeah,
all the slokas
And
are,
that
but
is that is
so
the role of Viveka.
yeah. So this one, what we need to give up, the angry attachment, sorry, attachment, of course, desire also. Like, I think one of the verses they talked about was, you give up desire as it arises in the mind, right? Like that binding desires. So the binding desire is the attachment, and then the attachment is gone, then you would be okay. So you're not going to be angry and jealousy and all that stuff, greedy, anger or greed or all that negative emotions, that will go away.
And that is the role of Viveka here. That
Mm,
is why for Atmajnana, the first pillar is Viveka.
yeah.
Getting the distinction between real and unreal. What is it I really want? And therefore, this exposure to this knowledge is important. For a person who's not exposed to this knowledge, you tell him binding, non-binding desires, tell them about dhyaito vishayan pumsaha. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they won't
They will
understand.
say, "What
Yeah.
are you doing? You're wasting all your time.
Yeah.
Life is here for enjoyment."
Hmm.
So we saw the positive spiral in the previous few shlokas.
Hmm.
62nd onwards, it is
The
all the
negative.
negative spiral,
Hmm.
the downfall.
So what can happen also is shown,
Mhm,
right? Like, so
mhm.
if you only talk about
What are
positive
the
things,
pitfalls? Yeah. How
then
how the
we,
pitfalls happen.
yeah, that's a nice way to show the difference. Mm.
We can close your Belaji. I think you have a class, right?
anyone would like to share? Otherwise, we can stop here. I will just read the next shloka. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayanindriyaiश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा prasadamadigaccati. Whereas one whose mind is controlled, moving in the world of objects with the sense organs under his or her control, free from likes and dislikes, attains tranquility. I think this we can see tomorrow. If anyone wants to share, please share till I put the meditation. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु
चलो विल डू ए शॉर्ट मेडिटेशन. सब लोग आराम से बैठ जाइए. एवरीवन सिट कंफर्टेबली इजली. रीढ़ की हड्डी सीधा रखे. लेट्स कीप आवर स्पाइन इरेक्ट. Let's take our attention to the top of the head. And become aware of the vast sky above the head. सिर के ऊपर विशाल गगन है. उस गगन से तरंग हमारे सिर पर पड़ रही है इस वक्त. इसका स्मरण करें. Become aware of the vast space and cosmic rays from the universe falling on your head right this moment. मुस्कुराते मुस्कुराते सारे तरंगों को अपने भीतर स्वीकार करें. With a smile, receive all the vibrations, cosmic vibrations, into your body. Vedic chantings are happening. All other sounds are there. Just welcome them all. मंत्र घोष भी चल रहे कहीं दूर. पूरे वातावरण में पवित्र तरंग उठ रहे हैं. इन सब को आप स्वीकार करें अपने भीतर. Let's also chant Om. हम भी 3 बार ओंकार का ध्वनि करते हैं. गहरी सांस लीजिए. ओ रिलैक्स योर होल बॉडी, पूरे शरीर को ढीला छोड़ दें. Let every cell in our body start to relax, expand, and smile. ओम शांति शांति शांति. और धीरे धीरे आंखें खोल सकते हो. Slowly and gradually you may open your eyes.